Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Truth About Prosperity Global Online Conference. I am Annie Anderson, and I am so excited to have you all with us for this life-changing event. This is just such an exciting event, and you're so amazing for being here and tuning in. And in this session, we're going to be diving into how your brain is actually your most important tool for success and prosperity. And the absolutely extraordinary leader we have to talk with you about this topic is the fabulous Dana Wilde. Hello, Dana.
Hi, Andy. I know. Let's do a little abundance right now.
Oh, abundance. That's good. Oh, I like that.
So good to see you.
Yeah,
Andy.
you too. How's it going over there?
Oh, it's wonderful. And I'm just excited about your summit, and I'm fired up to be included. Thank you for having me.
I can't imagine having it any other way. So, Dana, I want to tell everybody a little bit about you. So, not only are you one of the fabulous movie stars of the Truth About Prosperity free film series, and for those of you who don't know this, this is the film series from which this global online conference has evolved from. So that is, you are a movie star as part of that, and you're also the author of Train Your Brain and the host of the Mind Aware Show. And most of you, I'm sure, already know about the Mind Aware Show, but for those of you who don't know about it, you have to check it out. Dana's show is absolutely amazing. It's such an incredible show, and I highly recommend you look at it. And now, if you can't tell already, everybody, I am so pumped to have Dana with us today. Dana, we've known each other for years, and I am just continuously amazed at all the life-changing work you're sharing with the world. And just a little bit of background about you, for those of you who don't know you, you actually grew your own business from $0 to $1 million a year in under 19 months. And now you help teach other people how to do that same thing. So can you start us off by telling us why in the world is our brain the most important tool for our success?
Well, thank you for that lovely introduction, Andy. And yes, it's been so fun to be in the playgrounds with you, all the variety of amusement park and playground called life. So here's the thing. In a nutshell, everything you need to know about your brain is this. Inside each and every one of our heads, in our brains, we have a part of the brain called the reticular activating system. So the reticular activating system is the part of the brain that's like a little matchmaker that lives in our head. So if you sit in this moment and you look around the room and notice like all the stimuli coming at you, all of the colors and the sounds and the sensations, and we have billions and billions of bits of stimuli coming at us every single day. And the reticular activating system is the part of the brain that sifts through all of that so that we don't get overloaded, so that we don't go crazy, so that we don't, you couldn't possibly sift through it all, right? So what's it looking for? Well, it's looking for what you're already thinking about and what you're already talking about. It's standing at attention all day. And most people have had the experience, maybe they've been looking for a car or a new color car, and then suddenly, like everywhere they look, that car is around. Or maybe they're pregnant or want to get pregnant, or partnered with somebody who's pregnant, or they want to get pregnant, and suddenly everywhere they look, there are pregnant women. Well, that's the reticular activating system. And a lot of trainers or experts are going to talk about how you're sabotaging yourself. And I don't like to talk about that. And I don't like to talk in those terms. I like to look at it as quite the opposite. Your brain is your best friend. It's standing at attention all day, every day, looking for whatever you're thinking about. And so really all we need to do is get better about what we're thinking about. That should be the most important thing.
Right. Oh yeah. No, that's good. I like that. I like your style around the sabotage piece. Cause yeah, I mean, right. That is a very common way of how people talk around belief work and thought work and everything, and being aware of thoughts of sabotage, or, you're trying to ruin your life or whatever. Right. But yeah, the thing I love about you, Dana, and I've loved about you from day one, since we, started our journey of knowing each other, is your positivity. I mean, you are just this,
you too, right back at you. Really, right back at you. It's like attracts like and that's what the whole program is. What you're thinking about, you attract into your life. And it is, it's so easy to make people feel bad. It's so easy to feel bad about your life. Like, you could just name a thing and it's like immediately we're so good at beating ourselves up. Well, let's start to build ourselves up, and let's start to bust ourselves. You're going to have negative thoughts. I've been doing this 30 years, and every single day I bust myself. on something negative, or I get mad at the computer, or I have an experience that's not like quote unquote perfect, happy, blissful experience. That's what being alive is about. And so let's try to just enjoy the process more. You know, I always like to say that we care about the neighborhood we live in. We care about the car we drive. We care about the food we eat or the clothes we wear. And so now I just want people to start caring more about the thoughts in their head. That's it.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting too, right? It's beyond just like being aware, right? We need to be aware of our thoughts, right? The mind aware. We need to be aware of what's going on in there, but then what, right? After we're aware of it, you know, it's also really important to be responsible for generating, right, the stuff that's going to come in that you're going to replace it with, right? Like, yeah. What do you think about that?
Well, exactly. The whole process is 4 steps. You use a perfect lead in. You're always such a good interviewer, Andy. I appreciate you so much, because it is step 1 is being aware, like busting yourself and going, okay, I just was thinking a thought that it wasn't so positive, whatever it is. Maybe it's something, let's use, we work with entrepreneurs. So let's make it about money. Hey, guess what? It's about prosperity. And we'll make it about like customers, you know, all my customers are broke, or I only get customers who are fill in the blank, something negative, right? And so after you catch yourself saying that and you're aware, step 2 is to decide, do I want my reticular activating system to keep looking for broke customers? Well, no. So step 3 is to start finding a way to talk about the current situation in a way that feels good. And then step 4 is to feel that good feeling. And so all the work is really in step 3. Find a way to talk about the current situation in a way that feels good. Now, it'd be nice if you could talk about it in a way that feels like bliss, but most of us are not there. Sometimes the best you can do is just to kind of soothe yourself, you know, kind of be like, okay, well, that's not really true. They're not all broke, and I don't know why I go there. And I'm going to give myself a break, and that's just a habit of thought. And I'm going to start saying that I'm open to thinking differently, and I'm willing to think differently, and I'm ready to think differently, and I'd like more money to come into my life. And that's a feel-good thought. I would. I'd like more money to come into my life, and it'd be fun to be more prosperous. And I know that in my case as an entrepreneur, that starts with the customer. So I'm going to start keeping my eyes open for the kind of customers I want to attract. Well, all of those are feel-good sentences. And I think the part, Andy, to your point, that people don't realize, or maybe that's not given enough airtime, like in our schools or in our culture, is that only you can think in your head, and only you can think one thought at a time. And when you're intentionally thinking a positive thought, when you're intentionally soothing yourself, that's a time, and I know it feels like you're thinking more than one thought, but you're really not, right? That's a time that you're not thinking something else. You're only focused on that positive thought. You know, this isn't like the weather, like energy or thinking or positivity or feeling good isn't like, oh, I hope I feel good tonight. You know, you could feel good anytime you want to, but you have to think in your head.
Right. Yeah, right. And then that you take ownership of that, right? When it's like, wait, oh yeah, right. Like, this is me. This is my job. This is, you know, I think in my head. And yes. I'm right there with you as far as, right, this not being taught in the world. I mean, think about what is, you know, well, there's no thought, right? So, right, there's not enough education in the world for
I know
our
we
children.
keep matching that up, don't we?
Right. So, okay, so there it is, being aware. There's another thought, right? What are the things that we can do to, you know, educate our kids to think differently, to pay attention to our thoughts?
Yeah, and to start changing our story on that, because we both
right.
just did it. We both combust ourselves on it, and so now we can say, well, hold on. You know, things are changing. Things are getting better. We've got summits just like this one. We've got parents who are more educated than ever. We've got people wanting to feel good. The world is getting, contrary to popular belief, the world is getting more progressive. You know, people are moving in that direction. They're wanting to feel better, wanting more prosperity, wanting better for their kids than they have for themselves. I mean, you know, it's nice, right? It's fun to feel good. And a byproduct of feeling good is you make more money.
Yeah. Yeah. How does that work, right? How does feeling good, right, and being in like a positive state of mind and state of being, right? How does that attract, you know, abundance and prosperity in our lives?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Because here's how. When you are thinking negative thoughts, you're literally constricting the creative pathways in your brain. You have less access to creative ideas. When you're feeling positive, you open up the creative pathways in your brain. When you're feeling positive, you actually feel like working. You feel like doing something. I mean, people, say like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. But the truth is, we know what to do. We know the things we don't feel like doing it. And so when you feel positive, you actually feel like doing it. When you feel positive, you feel like engaging with the world. When you feel positive, you like people better and they like you better and you get better results. I mean, most of us have had the experience at one point or another where we've just been in a good mood and stuff just happens. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm getting so much done today. And you get to the end of the day and you just flop down. You're like, man, today was awesome. I got so much done because we're in the zone. Well, you can create the zone. You don't have to wait for the zone to hit you. And that's what feeling good gets you. Feeling good makes it so much easier to have whatever you want. Now, having said that, I do think there's one other thing that you should combine it with, and it's not action, surprisingly, if you want money to flow to you. Do you want to know what it is?
I don't know. Maybe in like 5 minutes. Yes.
I'll tell you on the next summit. No, what it is, and obviously people always say, well, you can't just sit around and think happy thoughts and, not take action. So I don't really talk about action because I think when you feel good, try to hold yourself back from action. Just try. You can't even stop. Like action is just a given. So the other piece that I think, this is just personal opinion and my philosophy on what brings abundance, is feeling good combined with positive expectation. You have to expect abundance if you want it to be abundant. You can feel as good as you want to, but if you don't have the expectation that more money is flowing to you, I think that's the single key thing for more money, expecting more money, expecting abundance. And I can give it a really good exercise on that too, if you like.
Ooh, we'd like that. Absolutely. Let's hear it.
Yes, this is one of my favorites. And it's a mind work experiment number 20 for those of you that are following along with the book. What you do is you get a sheet of paper, and at the top of the paper, you write down what it is you want to bring in your life. And it can be anything. It can be a new car or a house or a relationship, or losing weight or more money. I mean, whatever you want. So just like, here's what I want. I want this. And then you fill up the paper. You can write below the paper why you expect that it's coming to you now. And so you end up with a bunch of because statements. So it might be because statements related to action, like because I'm working extra hours at work, so I've got more money. But I encourage you to also just put some things that are feel-good things like, well, because I'm understanding how to train my brain better. Well, because I'm feeling better all the time. Well, because I'm studying summits like Andy's summit and I'm learning more about prosperity. Well, because I'm willing to take feel-good action to be successful. I'm willing to think positive thoughts. Well, because I'm open to new opportunities. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons why things could be coming to you. And so if you list them, now what you're doing is you're priming that reticular activating system. I tell people, do that exercise once a day for 30 days. And you won't even get through the full 30 days. You'll be like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. 30 days, starting now. I'm doing it. That's awesome.
After 3, you'll start to see evidence. You will. You'll start to see evidence that it's working within 72 hours usually.
Yeah. And everyone listening, I highly recommend you do the same. I mean, it's just exciting, even like you be happy and you be abundance in your way of being all the time. And you can feel it, right? I can feel how good you feel, right? And I think and you sharing, just that tip and that tool, right? I'm like, okay, I'm on this. I'm doing this, right? Like, this is awesome, right? You talk about, right, not being able to hold yourself back from action, right? When you're, feeling good and you're inspired by others. And I think that's another really key piece, right? How important is it for us to surround ourselves with people who are supporting us in feeling good and supporting us in, breaking free and, becoming more abundant in our lives? How important is that?
Yes, it's primary. It's very important to be surrounded by people because you want to have almost like a little oasis while you're getting your chops up. You're kind of like getting your positive thinking chops, you're getting your footing. So you want to be surrounded by other people who are exploring or thinking this way or doing the same thing. And then ultimately, it's what I think the transformation that happens is that over time, you get on such secure footing with your own positivity that it really doesn't matter who's around you, because you see everybody as positive. You see everybody around you as like the best thing ever, because that's the lens you're looking through all the time. And so even though other people may be like, oh my God, you're kidding, you just literally can't see it. And maybe some of you have had that experience in reverse. So maybe you've had the experience where somebody just gets on your nerves and everybody seems to really like them. And you're like, God, they just get on my nerves, Well, you can do that in reverse as well. And so, I think especially when you're starting out, but even now, I mean, part of the reason why I founded the Mind Aware is because I just wanted to have other people to play with.
Yeah.
It's nice when you've got people to try things out with and play with and try different things and see what works and get inspired and all of those good things. I mean, that's what you're doing here. You've got a little oasis here of just day after day, interview after interview of positivity. And I promise you, anybody take any action over these next days of the summit and it's going to be met with gold, because you're going to be so fired up,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And one of the things that comes to me when you talk about, right, like, being in this positive state of mind and feeling good, one of the things that I find in myself, I catch myself in the thought process of what if a lot. And a lot of times that thought process is not the what if this positive, amazing, fabulous thing happens to me, right? Like, right. It can be, I become aware of how often it tends to be the what if Dana doesn't want to talk to me? Yeah. Or what if, right? What if something happens with the recording, or what if something happens with the connection, or, like, think about, and I'm sure everyone can relate to this. These are really like worry thoughts, right? And worry just seems to just like strip out all the joy that you could possibly imagine experiencing in any given moment and just wipe it clean. So what do we do when we have these what if thoughts in the world of we're expecting actually what we don't want as opposed to what we want?
Well, great question. And it's the same process, isn't it? It's getting aware of it. And you can get aware of it either by hearing the thought or by feeling the feeling and going, okay, I'm having a really crappy feeling right now. What is it that I'm thinking about that's giving me this crappy feeling? So it's busting yourself. And the good news is, and I tell this to everybody I know who's really OCD or who's really anal retentive, because I'm actually quite OCD myself. So the good news is, if you're a chronic worrier, fantastic, because you have a wonderful gift. It's the gift of taking a very small situation and blowing it up into a really big situation, right? Yeah. So that's a skill. That's a skill to be able to be a really good worrier. So now that you've got that skill, it's like, oh yeah, I am good at that. I am good at taking a small situation and blowing it up into a big situation. So now you just have to get better about picking your situations and what you're gonna blow up, right? So instead of taking the little bad, fearful thing, pick the thing. Well, what if? And I know, Andy, you teach this, and it's a great thing. Well, what if the best thing could happen? Right. Now start working those chops on that side of the scale. Because you know what to do. You've got the skill. You're really, really good at it. So now it's just practicing the other side of the what if equation, and boom, you're golden. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Like, I love, once again, how Dana Wilde, everybody, here's how she takes really any scenario and twists it into a positive, empowering way, right? Like, I mean, that's right. There's your power, your magic. I mean, you take it all, right? And I think that's so key. And it seems like a lot of your theme it's all about, right, feeling good and, feeling good and then acting. And, I think so many of us can get wrapped up into beating ourselves up and getting wrapped up into these worry thoughts or whatever. So I just love all your stuff. So speaking of worry thoughts, so I know that since this is a big topic for people, there are a lot of people who have worries, concerns, stresses around financial security, right? Mm-hmm. Around paying the bills, around all of that stuff. And anyone listening with those thoughts or having that experience, listen to what Dana's talking about. So I know you have 4 steps that you talk about that can end financial stress for people, right? So,
Yeah.
and you can do it in, under 3 minutes. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, the 4 steps, the 4 we talked about. So step 1 is being aware. Step
Okay.
2 is making a decision. Is this what I want to keep matching? Because when you're stressed and when you're worried, you're really telling your reticular activating system, this is what's important to me. And so keep matching up situations that keep me stressed and worried. Just like you're telling your reticular activating system, I'm interested in looking at this kind of car, or I'm pregnant and so I'm looking for other pregnant women. Whatever you're thinking about, you're saying, this is important to me. And so your reticular activating system is like, Captain, I got it. I'm on the lookout for more worrisome, stressful. So step 3, this is where the work is finding a way to talk about the current situation in a way that feels good. And step 4 is have the good feeling. So step 3, we have a technique that is affectionately known as a rant, because people are out there, they're always ranting negatively, right? Well, we decided, well, there's positive rant. And it just started because I would do these things on webinars and people are like, oh, Dana's ranting again. And so here's how you do it. Everybody can do this. Think about how you would talk to your best friend or how you would talk to your child if they were having financial stresses or financial worries. Start talking to yourself that way. Start easing yourself into new ideas. And you're going to say some sentences as you're ranting that maybe aren't 100%. And then you go, okay, well, wasn't feel good 100%. So I'm going to play with it a little. So let me give you an example. Let's say somebody's feeling stress right now, financial stress. The step 3 part of this equation, find a way to talk about the current situation, would be like this, thinking in your head, okay, I'm feeling a lot of stress. I'm feeling a lot of financial stress. I'm really sick of feeling so much financial stress. I'm sick of being in this place. I feel like I should be further than I am. I'm sick of thinking about this and I'm sick of worrying about it, but I hear what Dana says, and I know that it's not going to benefit me to keep thinking like this. So I want to shift my thinking. I want to think differently. I want to feel more positive about it. And I've been at this for a while, and it's kind of funny. If I look in hindsight, the truth is I've worried about stuff for a long, long time, but haven't had all that many consequences. I can see that often I worry and stuff doesn't happen. And so that's a good thing. Like I can see I've got this history of worrying about things that don't really seem to come to fruition. And so it's kind of interesting. I think I'm going to start to look for how things are actually working out for me a little bit, because I'll bet you, even though I would rather have more money right now, I do have to admit that it is kind of interesting that I seem to be able to maintain this spot that I'm at. I consistently maintain it. And so that's kind of a plus of sorts. Like that's a plus of sorts in that I don't seem to go lower. I seem to be maintaining it. It's not 100% nice place to be, but it's better than it could be. So I like that. And I'm open to changing my mind, and I'm open to having things happen. I'm open to miracles. I'm open to really big things happening, and I'm open to letting my reticular activating system find it. And I like the idea that I can shift my thinking and shift my feelings, because I want to feel better about this. And I realize, I'm intelligent. I realize that stressing about it isn't going to help it. So I'm okay with releasing it. I could let it just be released for now. And I could kind of do like put a pin in it and just find some other things to distract myself and see what happens. And that's actually kind of a feel good. In fact, I'm pretty bored with that story. Like I'm kind of so bored with thinking about that it makes me a little bit crazy that I even spend time on it. So I'm actually really happy to let go of that. In fact, I'm just going to start thinking about things that I do like. Like, Andy was talking about that what if. Well, what if the next time I turn around, something is going to shift for me? I can already start to feel that I'm shifting. I can start to feel that it's better. I can trust that it's better. I can hope that it's better. Maybe this summit is the thing I needed. Maybe I'll get some ideas that I can follow. Lots of things can happen that are totally unexpected. They happen to other people. Why couldn't they happen to me? It could happen to me too, and I'm open for that. So I'm just going to let my mind go in this direction. I'm going to start to feel more positive, and I'm going to actually start to look for good things today. In fact, I might even make a list of all the ways that I'm fortunate, because I'm so bored with the whole I'm stressed story. Maybe I'll make here is how things are working out for me. Here's what's going right. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a fun exercise. I'm going to do that. I'm going to focus on what's going right, because my reticular activating system will find more things going right. So I'm just going to keep doing that. And I'm starting to feel better already, just thinking about this and talking about it. And so on, and so on, and so on. So you can see, like, whatever, we've been doing that 3-4 minutes, and you can shift from feeling worried. And really, seriously, aren't you bored to tears with that story? Aren't you really? Aren't you ready just to go like, God, even if I can't come up with anything else creative to say, I can certainly play with the dog.
Right.
Or do
Right.
something else with my brain and with myself than that. And so that's the ticket. Wash, rinse, repeat. And you can start to feel better. I mean, anybody who was feeling bad when you started, I would venture to bet you feel better now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right.
it.
I love how you did that and walked everyone through that, and we could see, right, your process, right? It's like the conversations with Dana, right? Like it's
The many personalities. all of those voices in my head have come in handy at some point.
Right. Well, it's good. It makes me think of, like, a lot of us probably have the experience of thoughts chiming in, and it's an interesting experience of not being able to, like, necessarily control what pops in, and yet what you're doing and your technique is really, like, it's like you're, in my mind, in this moment, right, you're taking responsibility for being the voice, right, and like being the one that's gonna say what you want to yourself. Right?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Because we all have that peanut gallery in our head that is like giving critical commentary about the moves that we're making. And that doesn't go away. I mean, I hope it does maybe at some point, but I can tell you after 30 years of doing this, it doesn't go away. But what happens is you get better at catching it. And you get better at turning it around, and you get better at discounting it or finding the positive thing to say. So you get better at being aware and being present, and also just not paying as much attention and kind of going like, okay, thanks for sharing. That's nice. Here's what I'm going to think now instead, and moving
right.
in that direction, because it is valuable. It is important for us to start, and I like the verbiage you're using, Andy. You keep saying taking responsibility. And that is what I mean. Think about, as a culture, how concerned we are about so many things that really don't matter, like, do my shoes match my pants or not, and yet at the same time, some of the most vital and important things that do matter, we aren't more proactive on. And so this is the shift, I think, that's taking place today. A lot of people talk about a new age shift or a spiritual shift, and all of that may be well and true. But I think the really big shift that's happening simultaneously is that we realize that we are the creators of our lives based on what we're thinking. And we're starting to take more and more responsibility for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's a question for you. This is something I've been mulling over lately and has just come to me. And my partner, Ike Allen, and I were actually just talking about this last night. So what's the difference between, right, you have a thought chimes in saying, right, like, you suck, you don't deserve to be financially successful, right? We know those awesome, things that are really just there for us and put their arm around us to help us in our journey, right? Like, you don't deserve this, you don't deserve to be happy, you don't deserve to have, financial freedom. So what's the difference between shining light, like shining awareness on that thought, and entertaining it, right? Like, what's the difference? It's an interesting question.
It is an interesting question. It is an interesting question, because some people would say, you don't want to acknowledge those thoughts at all. But I feel like, in my belief system, whatever you resist persists, right? So if you are resisting it, now what happens is you're just, you're getting pushback from it. It's just going to grow bigger. It's like that idea in your mind. The brain thinks in pictures, and it can't think in negatives. So if I say to somebody, don't think of pink elephants, it's impossible for them not to think of a pink elephant, because we think in subject matter. We think in pictures. So when you have a thought, I like to use it rather than resist it. There are no bad thoughts. There are no even negative thoughts. There's really no reason to ever beat ourselves up, because every thought is really just, I guess you'd call it an indicator, is one of my favorite words. Abraham Hicks uses that word, and it's one of my favorites. It's an indicator that will tell you, where am I at right now? So nobody knows where thoughts come from. That's the truth. Everybody can have theories or ideas or whatever, but the truth is, we really don't know where thoughts come from. So we're all just making it up as we go along. So here's my made up version of it.
Awesome.
My made up version is I feel like we seem to have thoughts or attract thoughts or, think of thoughts based on where we're at emotionally in the moment. So I maybe feel like I'm going along my day just, oh, good, I'm cleaning my kitchen or I'm doing whatever. And then I have a negative thought. Well, I can sit and beat myself up about that negative thought. Or I can say, okay, that's there. So I must not be feeling as happy-go-lucky as I think I am right now. There must be a little bit of underlying stress that I'm unaware of. So I'm going to nip that in the bud right now. And I'm going to thank you for sharing. That was really useful information, Peanut Gallery, that negative criticism that you gave. But now I'm going to intentionally be more intentional about how I'm feeling in this moment. What am I stressed about? Am I stressed about something? Okay, well, let's soothe myself about that. I don't need to be stressed. There's so many other people who've been here before. They've worked through this, blah, 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 right? Rant it out and truthfully move somewhere. So what happens is, for me, I think the original question was, how do you know which is, what were the two defining factors?
It was like, how do you shine awareness on a thought and what's the difference between awareness and like entertaining that thought?
Yes, I think the difference is intention and desire, so I don't think there's anything wrong with acknowledgement of negative thoughts. I think it'd be silly if you didn't, but now you get to decide how you entertain it. Are you going to entertain it and go down the rabbit hole of, pain and maelstrom, or are you going to entertain it and lift yourself up and move yourself into a different emotional state? So that would be the difference. That was a really long walk to a very small house, Andy. Sorry about that.
No, I love it. It's been on my mind lately, and I think that it's a powerful thing to be aware of, powerful thing to think about, and what is that difference? It's it's an ongoing journey, right? And I think that's something that I always like to remind everybody listening, that it's not like Dana Wilde and I aren't practicing this constant mind work, right? Like it's always there. We got this thing, right? So I think that's important to remember. Another thing that I think a lot of people talk about, there's a lot of talk around, is the psychological glass ceiling, right? So what's interesting to me is I think people might have a hard time understanding or being aware of when they've actually right, we all have these psychological glass ceilings, and it's not just one, right? It's one after another, at least that's my experience of it. So it's like, oh, you bust past a belief around not deserving to have a lot of money. Oh, I don't believe that anymore. Bust through to the next level. Oh, but that's followed up by, thoughts of scarcity or something from your childhood or whatever it is, right? Or I don't believe in myself or something. So how do we know, right? Like when we've reached or broken through one of our levels, right? How do you actually know that you have come to this level? It's really about progress, right? A lot of people want to know that they're progressing in some way, shape, or form in their journey. So how do you know?
Well, the short answer is by the results you're getting. And results include, how are you feeling? Because your emotions are a result. So that's the short answer. The long answer is, you're never going to be done. It's never going to end. And so rather than a journey this way, it's more like a journey this way, where everywhere you go, you're just going to, sometimes, and this is probably a terrible way to put it, but I do it anyway, just to make a point, is I try to tell people, you're never going to have what you want. And then they go, want, oh, why, and I'm like, well, here's why. Because as human creatures, it's our habit that as soon as we get what we want, we enjoy it for about 5 seconds, but then we want something else. We want the new plateau, usually before we even attain it. We're like whatever, a few $1,000s away from the goal, and we're already imagining the next goal, the next thing we want. And people say, well, I should stop that. Or Eastern religion would say stop desire, or there's all sorts of, different philosophies on that. And for me, I say that's what is called being alive. Being alive is having the joy and desire of different things flow through us. So starting to realize that you're never going to get there. There's never going to be an end point. So now you're left with nothing else but the proverbial journey. So you might as well enjoy it. And you might as well, and if you're wondering, am I getting there? Or am I breaking through these beliefs? That's one question you can ask, but it's a question that always, I think, is going to kind of end up with a bad answer. You know, I don't think there's a way. It's kind of like that old thing about asking yourself, well, what's my problem? Well, there's no way to come up with a good answer to that question. What's your problem? So maybe asking questions instead, like, how am I progressing? Look at all the ways I'm progressing. How am I different than I was a year ago? How do I feel better today about myself and about my life than I did a year ago? How am I feeling better every day on a day-to-day basis? You know, because you don't know what you don't know, and you don't really know if you've got a belief or if you've broken through it until hindsight. And I know you know all this, Andy, but it was a great platform for going off on this tangent on this subject, because I think we set ourselves up sometimes for wanting to feel bad about something just for the sake of feeling bad. You know, I'm not progressing enough. I'm not breaking through enough. Why do I still want stuff? Am I ever going to be satisfied? I mean, can't you just feel how crappy you feel already just asking those questions? Yeah. So let that be like your guidance, you know, let it be. We're like, okay, I can tell by how I feel if I'm going to pursue this thought or this line of questioning. Yeah. Right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's so good. I can talk to you I think maybe we should just stay on for the next few days.
Let's just keep the summit going right now. Right, I'll call some food downstairs.
Yeah, call the food in our 2 different locations and just keep rolling through the night. You know, I'll take my contacts out. I'll put on my glasses, and you know, we'll just keep going.
I feel the same way, Andy. You're a superstar. I enjoy you so much. You're such a joy, and you're doing such an awesome job with this, and just all the different multitude of projects you've got. You're just a force in the world, and you're so fun to play with. Thank you.
Ditto. Absolutely ditto. And yeah, it's a good thought that you brought up around, right? Like continuously, it's our nature to continuously want more. And I know that you are the same way in your business and all the stuff that you're doing. It's like, oh, I get a new email from Dina. Oh, she's doing this. She's doing that. She's doing this. Oh, you know,
that's creation though, you know, isn't it? I mean, that's it. You know, we feel like we want to say, well, I'm not satisfied, but the reality is we just want to create more. You know, why are we here in the physical if we're not going to enjoy life and enjoy the pursuit of all these things? It's that idea of, I climbed to the top of the hill and I thought that's where I wanted to be until I realized there was this whole valley to go explore now, right? So that's it. That's what we're all doing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it never ends. Is there any last little tidbit or tool or any last insights you want to share with everybody before we let everyone know how they can learn more about you?
Well, I alluded to it a second ago, and it's one of my favorite exercises, and that is, if you do nothing else, start today, just start making a list in your mind of what's going right. Start making a list of what's going right, and give yourself a break, you know, give yourself a break. What's going right? How are things working out for you? Just really be more focused in that space of things are working out, and I'm doing the best I can, and I'm learning as I go, and I'm getting better as I go, and things are working out more and more every day, and I'm on the path. And continue being gentle and nice to yourself. I think that's really the ticket.
Oh yeah. I love it. Thank you so much. Now, everyone, I am sure without a shadow of doubt in my mind that you want to learn more about Dana if you don't already know her. So I want to let you know there is a button below this video, and it takes you to her free gift that she's giving away. And Dana, could you tell them a little bit about what that is?
Well, we work with entrepreneurs, and so it's a gift really geared for entrepreneurs. So if you're building a business, you've probably heard all sorts of myths like, oh, you have to get out of your comfort zone, and you're not going to make any money for 3 years, and you have to discipline yourself and all that stuff. Well, it's all bunk. And this video explains why you don't have to get out of your comfort zone. You don't have to do any of that stuff. So I hope if you're an entrepreneur out there, I hope you enjoy it.
Oh yeah. And a lot of people listening a lot of our audience is entrepreneurs, or either you're an entrepreneur or you really want to be an entrepreneur, and you might be listening to this summit right now because you're pushing through whatever blocks you think you have, right, in order to get to that next level to build your business. Or maybe you have a business on the side as well as a job, and you want to, become more financially free. So absolutely, definitely go check out Dana's stuff, because she is absolutely amazing. And I think everyone probably agrees with me when I say that we are all feeling pretty awesome right now after hanging with you for the last however many minutes. And thank you so much. I know you are a mover and shaker, and you're always doing stuff. I watch you, on Facebook and emails and this, that, and the other. And I know you're a busy lady, so thank you for taking the time out and being with us.
Thanks, Andy. I really appreciate it. It's really an honor to be included. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right, thanks everybody. And that is a wrap for now. We will see you again very soon, and let's build a fortune together.
Woo!
Woo!